Hi friends, it's Leah and welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about everything personal branding. I am walking you through the brainstorming process that I am taking to start my personal brand. That means my website, social media, being consistent, creating a schedule, all that kind of stuff. I'm figuring it out on my own, so I want to help you. Stay tuned. These are the categories that I'm going to cover. Why should you build a personal brand? How are you going to build a personal brand? What questions do you need to ask yourself when brainstorming about building a personal brand? Where are you starting? What goals are you setting to get there? And then what are you doing to start working towards your goals? I feel like there's a lot of truth to the saying, those who can't do, teach. But I don't want that to be true for me. I want to be able to help other people start personal brands and build their businesses while I'm building my personal brand and my businesses, plural. So this process that I started recently has been all about brainstorming. I've written all of my ideas down. I've started to use a few applications online to help me kind of organize my thoughts. I've learned about a lot of things that I never knew even existed as far as being able to help you with your brand and being able to help you schedule content and things like that. So let's just get started. The first thing I want to talk about is the things that I'm already using, the things that I already know how to use. The first thing is in my daily 9 to 5, I use Sprout Social to schedule, produce, and edit content that I'm putting out on social media for the business that I work for. I love Sprout Social, but it's very, very, very expensive for someone who is like just starting off. I started out using Buffer when I first got my job because I realized that it was going to be very difficult to be able to schedule content, create content, and post it in a timely, consistent manner. So I decided that it was necessary to have a scheduling app help me post my content and help me to be able to organize it and see it at a glance. That was most important for me when it came to Instagram. I wanted to be able to see my content before it's scheduled so I could see what my grid would look like. And I also wanted to be able to see if it was like a consistent theme or if the photos made sense together in the order that I published them. A lot of people don't take time to really sit down and think about what needs to happen for their brand to be successful. And instead of me just like jumping into everything and figuring out along the way, I do want to start out with a plan. Now, if this plan doesn't work, then that's okay. I can come up with another one. But I do want to have some kind of plan so I'm not running around like a chicken with my head cut off. The main reason you should start a personal brand is because we all have a story to tell. And if for some strange reason you want to start a business, you want to write a book, you want to blow up on the gram, you want to already have established who you are in the world. You want to already tell people what they're going to get so that other people aren't given the opportunity to tell your story in their way, from their perspective. To me, having a personal brand is just a part of laying the foundation to being successful in the future. It's something that you can do while you still build a brand for other people. It's something you can do while you still build a brand for your personal business. But you yourself should also have a stake in claiming like your story and claiming your voice and capitalizing on the idea of social media and the opportunities that are presented to us on an everyday basis online. Like, we all have access to social media. We all have access to the internet at this point. So why not make social media and make your brand work for you? I would love to one day just be able to get paid for being myself, to get paid for sharing what I know, for sharing my highs and my lows. I love following people when they're successful, but I feel like a lot of people fail to document the process of them getting to where they are. I am captivated by documentaries of people in athletics, of musicians. I honestly don't support people if I do not know their story. And that's me personally. Like, I have a lot of friends who could care less if they like your if they like your music, if they love your talent, then they're all for you. But me personally, I only want to connect with people if I know like their story and where they're coming from, and if I'm inspired by who they are as a person. Even if that's just them being like real and raw. Like people like Chrissy Teigen, I love her. She is like so funny to me because she's always being herself. When she wrote the article in, I forgot what magazine it was, about being a mom and dealing with like postpartum and depression. I'm not a mom, I don't have kids, but I just saw her in a different light. Like not only was I gravitating towards her because of her personality, but now I was gravitating towards her because she was real. And who knows how many women in my life have gone through postpartum and, nobody around knew exactly what that meant. But once that story went viral, it was kind of like the key to starting another conversation. And that's the kind of content that I love to see, and that's the kind of content that I want to create. Content that starts conversations, content that inspires people. And as of right now, I mean, this channel is all about just helping people document their own journeys, helping me document mine, and getting us started on the path to success. So with that being said, I want you to drop a comment below and just give me an idea of who you follow on social media, what brands you love, and why. I am so interested in learning about how other people learn about brands, how they gravitate towards them, what they love about brands, and how those brands impact your life. I think that it's important to understand how other brands impact you so that you can have goals for yourself as far as how you want to make an impact on other people. So just a moment of transparency. This journey of building a brand for myself has been very challenging. I won't say that it's hard, but I will say that it's taking me a lot of time, a lot more time than I was expecting. The worst part about the way that my mind works is that I'm very indecisive, and I might start with this one color scheme or this one topic, and I'm gonna eventually get tired of it, or I grow bored of things. So it's kind of been a difficult journey to be able to even get started because I honestly didn't know where I wanted to start or what I wanted to talk about. So the first part of my brand brainstorm is to ask myself a few questions. So the first question is, who am I? The first 2 videos that I put out were actually a little exercise for myself to get me started on the right track of thinking about and analyzing who I am and what I bring to the table. I could start out with the obvious. I'm a Black woman. I'm a young professional. I am a millennial. I am interested in glam, style, lifestyle content, but I'm also interested in learning how to build connections with people online, using my journalism skills to find my voice, and hopefully that bleeds over into my work with my blog and my podcast, and then being able to be a person who is transparent and authentic about the journey, about my struggles. I've started out pretty strong on just being honest about where I am, where I want to go. So I just hope to keep that up. It's really nerve-wracking to sit in front of a camera and tell people your fears and the challenges that you have on a daily basis, especially when you're a perfectionist like me and you've kind of built this image of yourself as someone who always has it together. In reality, I mean, who really has it together? Like, who has the answers to everything? And that was the first step in me kind of just like figuring out who I wanted to be and how I wanted to come across to people. So even just those initial thoughts of who I am and who I want to be kind of stumped me. I was in like this analysis paralysis of like, that's too many categories, or I need to niche down and really figure out one thing. I decided that that mindset was holding me back, because if I had have stopped thinking like that a long time ago, then I would have already started a channel. I would have already gone through the process of figuring it out, making mistakes, putting up random videos to see what people actually want to see from me. Because I could, do all of these things as a hobby, and part of it is being a hobby, but another part of it is creating content that provides value for people. There are some influencers who just focus on branding for other people, and there are other influencers who focus on being a brand for themselves and just bringing those other companies or those other businesses along for the ride and just sharing the wealth with everyone. There's nothing wrong with either of those categories, but I want to be this kind of influencer. Another thing to consider when talking about your brand and what your brand is going to look like is trying to understand what value you bring to the table. So if you are someone who loves to cook, then you could help people like me because I can cook. If you are someone who is very into your spirituality, or you are great at negotiating, you're a great, finance person, like, you already know what your value is. You can help people on their journey to spirituality and awakening, or you can help people budget and balance a budget and create a budget. Like, all of those things are valuable, and that is a part of what your brand would be. Now, for me, I feel like my brand value is a culmination of things, of course, since I'm still figuring this out. But I think that my value that I bring to the table is just sharing the highs and the lows of being able to start a brand and being able to figure this thing out on my own, as well as showing what it looks like to document the process and use the skills that you have. So I don't have the most fabulous filming equipment. I don't have the secrets to success, but I have done research. I'm continuing to do research. I'm figuring it out by trial and error, and I'm also open to just making mistakes. And I want to be able to give value to people who are afraid to make mistakes, just like I was. So in a nutshell, the value that I would bring to my brand would be the transparency of my trials and my errors. Also, the experience of being a freelancer when you're a journalist up and coming. The experience of creating opportunities. I have the experience of managing social media for a large company. I also bring value and experience in the world of like style and beauty, simple style and beauty, a little bit of glam because, former pageant queen over here. But yeah, so those are some things that I would bring to the table, as well as like life hacks and budgeting for beginners. I've created my own financial plan, and it started before I even moved out of my parents' house. And it's kind of put me on the trajectory to be able to buy things that I wanted for myself, things that I needed to start my channel, things I need to start my podcast. Like, everything I have acquired is a result of my financial planning. So I think that that is something that I could bring to the table, and it all kind of wraps together as being a millennial, being a young person, building a community of people who are like-minded and empowered to just get started. So I feel like that's something that I bring to the table. It's also just like the very start of me identifying what that value is, and I'll also be able to identify that in the future with the content that I put out, and just being able to analyze who liked it, who didn't, what they got from it, and then what kind of comments I get based on my branding. One example of some value that I feel like I've already kind of identified is women empowerment. So I put out this post on like Wednesday, and I called it Working Woman Wednesday. And one thing that people do identify with me is someone who is ambitious and someone who's a goal getter. So I have had a lot of goals, big goals, and I've accomplished a lot of things before, I hit this weird spot. So what people know as of now is that I am someone who is going after my dreams and who's always done that. And I put out this post about being a working woman and breaking down the experience of being a new employee in a big company, being the only person of color, being the youngest person in my office. I talked about my experience of being able to speak up in meetings and not shrink myself to make other people comfortable. And I hadn't posted in a long time on my Instagram page, but that post in itself was able to boost my engagement for the entire week. So just being able to identify that kind of content resonated with a lot of people who already follow me and who know me for being someone who is a girl boss, just in my own right. So I identified that experience as something to put in my database of things that work for me. So that is one way that I have started to identify what value I'm bringing to the table. Another part about having a personal brand that I'm really fond of, but also struggling with, is having a voice. So your brand should have a clear voice and a clear presence online. And people should know, like when they read your content, when they hear you speak, they should know who you are, and they should be able to identify your message with something familiar that they've seen from you or heard from you before. So one way that I'm working on identifying my voice is by utilizing my blog. So I first started in my journalism career as, a writer. And that is one thing that I wanted to return back to in addition to video, because I can talk for days, for hours. I can run my mouth forever, but to be able to really hone my voice on paper, online, on a web screen. Anyway, to be able to write a blog post and to really come across as myself, and to be able to pull at your heartstrings by the words that I'm using, and to be able to captivate you with the way that I open up a story, that's a goal for me. I see so much value in being able to put your heart on paper. So that's one way that I've started to identify my voice, and this is another. But I feel like blogging is the most important step for me to be able to identify like my voice, to be able to identify like what I have to say and how I want to say it, and be able to share that with people, and to make an impact and kind of like stop you in your tracks and keep you reading and keep you wanting more. When I get good at blogging, then I might be able to move forward with writing a book. So yeah, blogging is something I'm not good at right now, but it's okay, because I'm gonna keep going, and I'll share with you like how I got the courage to start blogging and what I'm doing to get better at it. The first thing I've done is picked up some books on finding my voice, and I just started reading things that I was interested in, just to kind of see like how other people put their thoughts on paper and how I could possibly do that. Not in an effort to like emulate anything that I'm seeing, but just to be able to get an idea of how other people are doing something that I aspire to do. So if you're interested in like trying to find your voice, start with journaling if you're not ready to start a blog. But there's value in writing down your thoughts and being able to articulate how you feel without having to yell or scream or sit down and have a face-to-face. Sometimes you need to write it down before you talk to someone or just talk to yourself. So that's been a journey in itself as far as like getting back into writing, but I think it's going to be worth it in the end. So now that I've identified what my brand used to be and kind of like what it is right now, it's time for me to kind of look at the numbers and figure out what platforms I'm serious about using moving forward. I've started using all the platforms, social media, blogging, all that fun stuff. But one thing I want to do with my personal brand is to use those platforms, but to also have a consistent message and a consistent image across all platforms. So if I'm going to capitalize on the versatility of my hair on YouTube, I'm going to do it on Instagram. If I speak one way on YouTube, I'm going to speak the same way in my captions. I want everything that I put out to be consistent of me, consistent of the essence of Leah. So that's something that I'm working on, and I'm starting to do that with like my caption writing on social media and my blogging, and especially in the way that I talk to you all on camera. So let's dive into the numbers and take a look at where I'm starting on social media and where I want to be. Okay, so in order to create a content strategy, I kind of need to set some goals. And in order to set goals, I need to know where I am in order to know where I want to be. So when we're talking social media, I already have my numbers written down, and I want to put this on camera and document it so I can know exactly where I am, where I started, and then we can kind of create something and move forward. So as far as Instagram is concerned, I have 3,478 followers. On Twitter, I have 690. On Facebook, for my business page, I have 192 followers. YouTube, I have 8 subscribers and 63 channel views, which is probably like me and my mom and my cousins. I don't know who it is, but whoever is watching, thank you. We'll get there. Podcast, 0, because all I have is a trailer right now. And the blog, 0, because I haven't launched it yet. So those are the numbers. I understand when people talk about like vanity metrics and like it's not all about your followers, it's about your true fans. So instead of focusing on just like vanity metrics, I want to focus on true fans, true friends. So I kind of hate the idea of having fans. It's not about being better than other people. I feel like we follow people to like want to be a part of their community and invite them into ours. So that's kind of like how I look at social media and my platforms. When I think of my true friends online, I want that community to be people who support me, who follow my content, who engage with my content, and who recognize the value that I give and are able to reciprocate that. And even if they can't, at least they, give me feedback so I can know how to grow and how to improve my work and my content. So I heard that you're supposed to have like 1,000 true fans. These are people who follow your content, who pretty much like take in everything that you put out. I want those people because I am that person for a lot of people, and that is what I want for myself. So I can't really put a number on it, but if I had to, I'm just gonna say 1,000 because that's the framework that's already out there. So if I could have 1,000 true friends by the end of this year, I feel like I'll be doing very well. Okay, so as far as building a personal brand and being consistent in creating a schedule and like a content schedule and a calendar and all that fun stuff, it can get really stressful because it just feels really overwhelming. But one way that I've found that helps me to just kind of like dive in and get organized is to start using what I have. So I have a planner. There are apps that I use online like Later and Asana. And I love those apps and using my planner because it's one of those strengths that I already have. I'm already a great organizer and I'm already excited about just like planning everything out ahead of time in advance so I'm not stressed out on the days when it's time to get stuff done. So I use my Asana account to be able to like write out all my content ideas, and I move them across the board as I edit, film, write, and plan for everything. And I'll definitely make a video about that. I use the Later app to schedule all of my social media. So when it comes to my social media, it can get stressful because I work. So I can't always post at the highly optimized times or the best times or best days to post for other people because my schedule doesn't allow me to have that flexibility to always just be on my personal phone when I need to be worried about like what's going on campus and things like that. So that is a part of the process of like being able to organize your goals and your plans and to actually start getting to work. So my personal brand is also going to be a direct reflection of how well I am organized, because if I don't have consistent content coming out, then you all don't get anything from me. And I can't gain true friends if I don't have content that people want to see once they do follow along and join me for this crazy ride. So please start to in your brainstorming process, start to kind of figure out what apps or what kind of schedulers you want to use, or how you're going to schedule out your days and your time to get your content up and published. I love being able to have things like Asana and Later and just like a planner, just an everyday planner that I can write down my notes, write down my to-do list, and make it real to me and not just like a figment of my imagination. So that's a part of the journey to building a personal brand. It's getting organized and having a plan and executing that plan. And then once you do that, you're just going to be able to consistently execute, because once you're able to figure out how you get it done, you can develop a system. And the one thing that I am missing is a consistency system to be able to do to be able to schedule my content in different phases of the month or in different times of the day without me having to stress out about it. I need to know how long it's going to take me to do everything that has to get done. I need to know what kind of content I want to post around that time. Now I've done so many photo shoots. I have all of these pictures and I don't know what I want to do with them. I have my hair different every other week. I got a silk press recently and it's been raining all week, so that's why I look like a chia pet. But you know, I don't really care about that kind of stuff. Like one day I will have braids on my Instagram, the next day my hair can be straight. Like that doesn't care. That doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is being consistent and providing value to the people who are following me and along for this ride. I also want to put out content that people will gravitate to and become true fans and true friends of my channel, of me, of my platforms. And blogging is one of the first channels that I was able to start batching content for. I sat down the other night. It was a long day, but I was having so many ideas going on in my head about what I could write and what that would look like. So I just sat down and started writing a bunch of articles, a bunch of blog posts. And it was so helpful to be able to have those blog posts already written. So now this weekend, all I have to do is go in, edit them. I'm going to put them through Grammarly. I already use that for school, so I'm going to start using that for my blog. And just kind of like put that through there and figure out if there are any keywords that I need to use. I'm really struggling with the SEO of YouTube and blogging and all that kind of stuff, but it'll come. Like, I feel like that's something that I can worry about later. As of right now, I just need to get started. I don't care anymore if it's perfect. I don't, care that I don't have the best equipment. I don't care about any of that. I just want to get started and to develop some systems that work for me. All of the other stuff will come. If I worried about that stuff so much that I wasn't starting, that I wasn't putting out content, that I wasn't doing work, I would still be sitting in my house twiddling my thumbs this weekend, because I do all of my content, all of my scheduling, everything I need to do for myself, I do it during the weekends, because it's, to me, the only time that I have right now available to do stuff for myself. So, yeah, that's a part of the building. That's a part of the building process, and it's a part of the building process that's essential for success. So, to wrap all this up, personal branding looks different for everyone. I've shared all the things that I have thought of, that I could possibly think of to even get started with personal branding. And there's so much more to learn, but I'm not going to be stingy and keep all of this to myself. I'm not going to just use what I've learned for me. I want other people to be able to do this for themselves. And if you make it before I do, give me a shout out. That's all I ask. If you use this content and it's valuable to you, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, follow me on my other platforms. Just, let's support each other, because there is room for everyone. There's always room at the top. I know that a lot of people say social media is saturated, YouTube saturated, everything is saturated these days. But that doesn't mean you can't have a voice. That doesn't mean there's no more room for you. And I'm making room for myself at this point, so you can do the same. So I hope you had fun brainstorming with me. I don't know how helpful this might have been, but it was pretty helpful to me, because I had to sit down and write all this out. So now I have 5 other ideas in my mind about the next videos I could make or the content that I could create. And, I'm excited. So I'll make sure to detail all this stuff in my description box. And I'm also going to write a blog post about this, so you'll have like super detailed brainstorming tips from the stuff that I talked about here. I'm also going to do a little more research on the different categories of personal branding, the different categories of influencing, and kind of give my perspective on that, because I feel like it's helpful to know what category you fall into, so you're not all over the place, even though right now I'm all over the place because I'm trying to figure out what feels good and what I have a lot to talk about. So we'll see. Please let me know what you thought of this video. I want to know all about how you are branding yourself, how you have started your journey to personal branding. I would love to know if you felt like any of this was helpful, if any of these questions are useful to you in your journey of branding and, you know, building a personal brand for yourself. And I know a lot of people say like only pick one platform, but I'm just not a lot of people, and I don't want to be regular or like everyone else. So I think that the easiest way for me to do that is to figure out what platforms I can make content for the easiest, which ones I have the most fun making content for, and which ones I can be the most consistent with. And it's already starting to show itself to me. I won't tell you which ones I'm leaning towards the most, but I'm kind of getting an idea already. And I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't just started everything at one time. So that's a different aspect to the rules. You have to know the rules to be able to break them. So congratulations on learning a few of the rules, and a bigger congratulations on being able to break them. Don't forget to subscribe and leave me a comment. Like this video if you liked it. If you thought I need some improvement, still like it, and then leave me a comment and tell me what I can do to help you. All the feels, all my love, and thank you for being present with me.